And so clearly, look at me. I'm satisfied with their effects. They're working. To me, that's just being a little sus. But what's worse than this, worse than all of this, Coach Greg, in today's video, we're going to be discussing SARMs. Everything you want to know about SARMs. How effective are they? Are they safe? Are they dangerous? Has anything changed in the past several years since I covered almost every SARM available? And so it's just come out that the world's best and biggest arm wrestler, at least I haven't seen anyone bigger, Levon Sajidashvili, that he is a user of SARMs. And if you want proof that SARMs in fact do work in the real world, well, look no further than his transformation. Guy went from 176 pounds to, get this, 396 pounds. But listen, I'm not here to say that he doesn't use SARMs. I do believe that he has in fact used them, and I do believe that they are in fact effective, that they can work. But there's no way I'm going to believe that he put on all that muscle from only taking SARMs.
ასე ვთქვათ, გირჩიოთ ეს პროდუქცია, მე თუნდაც ვიყენებ და კმაყოფილი ვარ და მეგონი მეთქობა კიდევაც.
And so when he says, look at my physique, they clearly work. Well, is that really true? That would be like me saying that I have amazing blood work, that I'm very healthy, that I have amazing cardio, and that I've taken HCl greens or liver support or GO2 max. Well, yeah, it might have helped a little bit, but in comparison to everything else, the fact that I'm doing cardio, eating healthy, and so on, it's such a minor benefit in comparison to everything else that you can't attribute those gains to the fact that you're taking them. And so if he were truly being honest, he would be saying, yeah, I'm on massive abusive doses of performance-enhancing drugs, and I do use SARMs as part of my concoction. And so clearly, look at me. I'm satisfied with their effects. They're working. To me, that's just being a little sus. But what's worse than this, worse than all of this...
Soon we are going to have a spectrum of substances which will very much help you improve your athletic form and will not harm your health in any way.
SARMs are not safe. SARMs and safe do not belong in the same sentence unless they're separated by the word not, as in not safe. And so this biological hacker, in my opinion, he's a guy that sells performance-enhancing drugs. SARMs are drugs, and they are performance-enhancing. Are they legal? Well, depends on your country. You can purchase them in some countries, but they are not for human consumption. What does that mean? It means that you can buy them and experiment with them, look at them, put them in the fridge, play with them, but don't actually take them. Don't put them into your own bodies. Why? Well, because they have negative side effects. But can they in fact work? Can they put on muscle? Yes. In the same way that anabolic steroids work, SARMs also work. They can put on muscle, put on size, but they come at a cost. They suppress your own body's natural production of testosterone. And what does that mean? It means that if you're taking SARMs, your own body stops producing the amount of testosterone that it should. You no longer will have the hormones that you once had. And so when you stop taking these SARMs, what do you think happens? You're going to lose a lot of muscle. And with lower testosterone levels, it's much more difficult to build muscle. And so your muscle mass is going to go down. Not to mention ED, problems with the downstairs. And although you can get harder than last time for the downstairs, if you're being suppressed to this extent, it might not be enough. You might in fact need to go to your doctor. You perhaps will be prescribed Cialis, Viagra, and so on. Some people using SARMs, for example, will experience their downstairs ball sack going into their bodies for the first time. Your balls, they usually hang low, but if they get smaller, shrink up, they can hide away. Literally, you can push them back up into your body and you won't even see them. Perhaps you didn't know this. I've personally know people taking SARM steroids and called me up in panic. Coach Greg, I lost my balls. I don't know where they are. I'm thinking, yeah, I've been there, done that, but trust me, they're still there. You just can't see them right now. They've disappeared for a moment. Not to mention, if you get your blood work done, you're probably going to notice your AST and ASL going to be through the roof, or at least out of the reference range, meaning your liver is being stressed. Also, kidneys can be affected. Your HDL and LDL cholesterol, that can be out of whack. Other things you might experience, high blood pressure and increased risk of cardiovascular disease. And something that young people seem to be even more concerned about than cardiovascular disease, things like atherosclerosis, arteriosclerosis, perhaps getting a heart attack. Young people, that can't happen to me. But what they do worry about and what can happen to them right now? Acne. And so when Levon's biological hacker says SARMs are safe, can you in fact believe this guy? Now remember, myself and Derek, More Plates, More Dates, we've covered mostly all the SARMs in detail several years ago. All the videos are still there. People saying, why don't you cover SARMs? Why don't you cover steroids? We've already done it. It's not like in the last 2 or 3 years that suddenly all the SARMs are now safe. They're now highly effective, more effective than last time with no negative side effects. It's not true.
We are planning to produce a kind of substance, of course, absolutely legal and as harmless as possible, named SARMs. Yeah.
And so they're going to produce a substance of which has already been produced for decades. They're acting as if this is brand new, but yet it's been around for decades. Absolutely legal and as harmless as possible. Really, as harmless as possible, no negative side effects. Why would you ever worry? Named SARMs, selective androgen receptor modulators, as if this is somehow new. Levon's biological hacker, what a genius. He should be given the Pulitzer Prize. Guy's a genius. Making advances. Never knew that SARMs were safe, but yet he's going to produce some, and they're all going to be safe. No negative side effects.
These substances are 10 times more effective than the classic food supplements.
And they're 10 times more effective than any of those classic food supplements. The ones that are actually legal, that are not banned by WADA, that you can use in sporting competition. Now, if you think that SARMs are legal, they're not. You can't use them in drug-tested competitions. And so if you do, in fact, use SARMs, any of the ones they're talking about, and you compete in a drug-tested competition, you're going to fail the drug test. And so why bother telling people to use actual legal supplements you can use in competition? Things like creatine, beta-alanine. Why not jump right down to the drugs? Things that you should not be using as human beings, not for human consumption. Isn't any worse with effects than so-called anabolic steroids. And so by that he's meaning that SARMs are just as effective as steroids. That there's perhaps no reason to use steroids. I mean, after all, look at Levon. He's happy with the results. Visibly, look at him. He's the world champion, 396 pounds. But remember, he's admitting to using SARMs, but he's not admitting to using steroids.
The top arm wrestler right now, you would die if I told you what he's using on a regular basis.
For steroids.
Yeah, it's insane.
And so if it's shocking for Larry Wheels, who's met all the best lifters, bodybuilders in the world, imagine just how powerful that steroid cycle actually is. I will mention that we don't advise anyone to use them. I mean, you're literally making this video to describe to people that SARMs are just as effective as steroids with no negative side effects, 10 times better than regular supplements, and that you're going to be producing them for sale, that you can buy it from you, but that you're suggesting that no one uses them? Does that make sense in any universe that you've been in?
The most significant thing is that these SARMs have no side effects whatsoever.
And so what's so great about this guy is he's the only person in the world that I've ever seen to literally be able to sell you SARMs with 0 negative side effects. I mean, even pre-workout, which is legal, have negative side effects. Do you really think it's safe to dry scoop 8 scoops of pre-workout before going to the gym? If you take too much pre-workout, you might not be able to sleep. You could go into cardiac arrest. It's not safe. But in comparison, SARMs, well, they're even safer than pre-workout. No side effects whatsoever. I mean, how could you sit there with a straight face and lie to that extent? This is such an innovation that has very good effect and no downsides. Imagine if that were true. And consider this, the main ingredient in GO2 Max, I hope you know by now, NMN, it's recently been banned for sale on Amazon. The FDA, well, they want pharmaceutical companies to label it as a drug, so you can only get it by prescription. It's NMN, has anti-aging properties, no negative side effects. It literally comes from food. Is it going to turn you into an Olympic athlete? Of course not. But can it help? Yes. In athletic studies using runners were tested before and after comparison to placebo, and those using NMN, they showed a significant improvement in their VO2 max, their ability to use oxygen. And remember, these are athletes, runners. And so if you're competing in things like triathlons, MMA, or even if you go to the gym and work out, you want enhanced recovery between sets, then look no further than GO2 Max. Click the link in the description, use code Greg, 10% off. And let me remind you, this is not banned by WADA. It is approved for human consumption. In comparison, SARMs are not. And one of the SARMs, which isn't actually a SARM, of which they discussed in detail, is cardarine, or GW501516. Cardarine, aka GW501516, very similar in its ability to improve cardio, recovery between sets, energy, and so on, as NMN, which is in GO2 Max. But cardarine, it's banned by WADA, and based on previous research, they had to stop using it because they were fearful that it could in fact cause cancer. And so they felt it's not worth it. And although GW absolutely does work, I've used cardarine in the past, I know hundreds who have, the stuff does work, there was a potential risk. But NMN and GO2 Max, not banned, and show significant dramatic improvements in cardio. And most people taking GO2 Max on their first day, they can see the benefits. They're going faster, they're going farther, they feel better, they have more energy. And it's not just me saying it, it's not just the tens of thousands of people are buying it. It was also discussed at length on the Joe Rogan podcast featuring Andrew Huberman and others. And many people have said, well, obviously NMN, when you get older, NAD plus levels decline as you age, is responsible for energy production, and NMN is a direct precursor to NAD plus. And so they say, yeah, obviously for you, Coach Greg, you're in your 40s, but I'm only in my 20s. Studies of both younger and older individuals supplementing with NMN, it's shown that they work in both age groups, young and old. Also, consider this. If you were in your 20s and had average levels of testosterone, and then took testosterone and had much higher levels of testosterone, do you not think that that would improve your performance? Not saying you should do it, but clearly it would work. And so NMN works in the same regards. If you have average or normal levels and suddenly you have more, you can produce more energy. And so again, interested in GO2 Max, code Greg, 10% off, get it in bulk, save more money than last time.
Crazy as it almost seems like some of these foreign channels or countries, they are almost like years behind.
And so when SARMs first came out over 10 years ago, these were the things people were saying. SARMs, they work. It's almost as effective as steroids. But because we've seen the blood work, we've seen people using them, and now we know more of the negative side effects, we can report that yes, there are. There are negative things that can happen from taking SARMs. And so do not take SARMs blindly. Do not think that you can take SARMs safely and that nothing is going to happen to you.
Almost the same effect as steroids can give, but with zero damage for your health.
And so let me know in the comment section, does any one of you actually believe that SARMs can be taken 100% with no negative side effects? Subscribe, click the bell button, and if you could, like the video if you liked it, and comment, it'll help boost the algorithm. Don't forget to watch one of those two bloops. That would help me greatly. Also, training books, cookbooks, coaching plans by me and my team, the Circle diet book, and the Harder Than Last Time clothing line. Get all that at the website. If you have no money at all, that's okay. Head over to my website, enter your first and last name and email address. You're going to get free, close to 50-page diet and training program. It's free, well on your way to health and fitness. Be careful if you ever use SARMs. And until next time, I am out.